Hi there, it's Nicole for STAMPtember from Simon Says Stamp, and today I have a card featuring the collaboration between Simon Says Stamp and Pretty Pink Posh. This is the Darling Friend stamp set and coordinating dies. And I'm going to start by stamping the hot air balloon and mouse on a scrap piece of smooth white cardstock. This is the Nina Solar White cardstock. This is a great cardstock for Copic coloring. And I just have these ovals here left over from another project. So these are going to work great to stamp these little images. Now, because I haven't stamped these images before, a couple of them, like the first one, the one ear didn't stamp very good, and then I didn't press very good the second time. So I had to stamp it 3 times, but I wanted to make sure and get a really good impression. There are several little critters in this stamp set, so you can choose which little animal you want sticking out of the hot air balloon, which I think is super fun. I decided to go with the mouse, and I'm also going to be coloring in the hot air balloon in a rainbow type of pattern. I'm using our 24, 46, and 39 for the red. For the orange stripe, I'm using YR04 and YR09. These are yellow reds, but these are some of my favorite orangish colors. For some of the stripes, I'm using 3 shades to blend. For a couple of them, I'm only using 2. For the yellow, I started with Y11 and decided immediately it was way too light. So I went ahead and put down a base color of Y08, and then I'll finish that with a little Y19. That'll be my dark color. For the green, I'm using my favorite color combination of YG21, 25, and 17. 21 has a lot more colorless blender in it, so it's really going to blend out, and you want to be a little careful that you don't blend so much that the marker bleeds outside of the line. I want just that little inside portion to have that highlight of the lighter green color. And that's also going to be the portion of the balloon where the most of the highlight is. Then for my last stripe, I'm going to do B24 and B26 for this nice, really pretty blue. Once I have all of these colored in, I can go ahead and color in the basket. I'm going to use some browns for the basket. Oh, I'm going to skip to the mouse first. Sorry about that. I'm using some warm grays, warm gray 00, 1, 2, 4, and R20. The R20 is for the insides of the ears and the cheeks, and I do make sure and go over those with 1 or 2 of the warm gray markers to mute that so that the pink isn't so just in your face pink. It's more of a muted pink. Go ahead and add just a little darker warm gray there. And now I will skip over to the basket on the hot air balloon with a little E57, 55, and then for the highlight area, I'm going to use E31. For the little strip here around the hot air balloon, I'm using C6 and C8 just to get it kind of a darkish gray, almost a light black maybe color. I went over it a couple times just to get that color or the shading the way I wanted it, and then I'll fill in with a little R24 for the little dots. I'm going to go over the hot air balloon with the Wink of Stella clear glitter brush marker, and it's going to give that balloon, I think I said umbrella, I'm sorry, I meant balloon. It's going to give it that really nice glittery finish. I'm going to use the coordinating Darling Friend dies to die cut the hot air balloon and mouse. It'll be so cute. You can just stick that mouse right there so it looks like it's hanging out the basket of the hot air balloon. And then I'm going to take one of these stitched speech bubble shapes. These are from Pretty Pink Posh. They have lots and lots of great dies. I'm going to use several of them for my card design here. And I'm going to stamp on this vellum speech bubble using Versamark ink and greetings from the Darling Friend stamp set. So there's several greetings that you can mix and match from this stamp set to make several different assortments of greetings. I'm going to use white embossing powder on that and then heat set that. I'm going to try the ink smooshing technique, which I saw on Christina Warner's blog, and Laura Basson has done this as well. And it's just, you take some ink and then wet it, and I'm picking it up with a sheet of acetate, and it kind of gives you a little more control over how the watercolor looks. I'm really kind of just copying that the technique from Christina Warner's blog because I was trying it out. I wanted to see how it looks. I'm using 4 shades of Distress ink. I'm using the Salty Ocean was in the upper left, then Peacock Feathers is the one I just did, and now I'm going to use a little chipped sapphire. This just allows you to kind of pick up that ink and lay it down. That one got a little bit wet. Kind of a fun technique. It gives you more control than if you would just kind of lay the colors out. My last color is going to be Mermaid Lagoon, and it's going to give a really fun kind of messy watercolored look for the background of this hot air balloon card. Move that ink around. That line was a little harsh. And then I'm going to let that air dry. Once it's all dry, I'm going to just put some water droplets on here. Again, completely just trying out Christina Warner's technique. I loved how it looked, and so I thought I'd give it a try and see how I liked it. And you want to let those sit for a minute and then pick them up with a dry cloth, and you can see it leaves behind those nice little lighter areas. I'm going to take another sheet of watercolor cardstock. This is the Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock. I think it works beautifully with his Distress inks. And I die cut that using one of the Stitched Borders 1 dies from Pretty Pink Posh. I'm going to do the same thing for this grassy landscape border that I did for the background, only using green inks. I'm going to use the Mowed Lawn and Shabby Shutters inks. And again, I really like the messy look. I think this is kind of the only way you can get this look. I find that when I use a paintbrush, I'm maybe a little too specific and it doesn't end up as messy as I like it. So I really wanted this to be kind of messy. I'm taking the trees now from the Darling Friend stamp set, inking them up with the Mowed Lawn Distress ink, and then spritzing them with water in a mini mister to stamp them. Now you can see that first one had lots of water on it. The second one, not as much. Neither did the third one. It's not an exact science, and they're all going to look totally different depending on how much water you spritz, or maybe how close you are when you spritz that water onto the inked up stamp. So they're all going to have a very different look. I'm going to do this with both the large and the small trees, and then let these dry completely. If you're in a hurry, go ahead and hit them with a heat gun to speed that up, and then I die cut them with the coordinating dies. Now I forgot to stamp the mountains earlier. This is also from that Darling Friends stamp set. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that on another scrap of paper and color it in with Copics. And I accidentally forgot to turn my camera on, but I ended up using 4 shades of colors or Copic markers and just adding dot detail. These are browns and greens, just to give it kind of that mountainy type of look. And I'm going to tuck that behind that landscape there along the bottom of the card, and then tuck all of these trees either in front or behind the landscape on either side. This is building that bottom portion of the card and really making this whole scene come to life with that adorable hot air balloon. This is a exclusive stamp set to Simon Says Stamp. I'm not sure if it's going to be limited edition. Last year, all of these collaboration stamp sets were limited edition, so you want to get them when they come out, because a lot of times when they're gone, they're gone. I don't know if that's the case, but I do know that that was the case with their collaboration stamp sets last year, and I know I don't want anybody to be disappointed because they missed out. I'm going to I die cut some vellum cloud borders using a Stitched Borders 2 die from Pretty Pink Posh. I did that a couple times out of some scraps of vellum. I'm going to layer those along the top edge of the card. I'm disguising my adhesive along that stitched border, and then I'll add a little dab of glue in the upper corners as well. I'm using a black gel pen on the nose and eyes, and then I'll trim off any of that excess vellum on this panel. I did trim down the panel about 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch on all 4 sides so that it will leave a nice border on the white card base that I'm using here. And this is a top fold card from Simon Says Stamp, also new for STAMPtember. And there is my cute scene all finished. Thanks for watching this video showcasing Pretty Pink Posh Darling Friend stamp set and dies. The supplies I've used are listed and linked below the video on YouTube. Thanks for watching.